His hand moved slowly up her thigh, fingers tracing patterns on skin that seemed to glow bronze in the dim light of his penthouse. Maya leaned back against the floor-to-ceiling window, the city of Seoul glittering behind her like a constellation of earthbound stars. "Don't go," Kang Minho whispered, his lips brushing the sensitive spot just below her ear. His Korean accent wrapped around the words like silk. "Stay with me tonight." She exhaled shakily, her resolve crumbling with every touch. Her hands found his chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heartbeat beneath the expensive fabric of his shirt. "This is madness," she breathed, though her body was already surrendering to him. "Maybe madness is what we both need." His voice dropped lower, dangerous and promising. "I've spent my whole life being careful, rational. Then you walked into my world and set everything on fire." For weeks ago, Maya Torres had been living her quiet, predictable life. For weeks ago, she had never heard of Kang Minho or the powerful family he commanded. For weeks ago, she was simply a literature professor from Atlanta, in Seoul to present at an academic conference. For weeks ago, she still believed that passion was something reserved for the heroines in the romance novels she secretly devoured, not for 43-year-old women who had long ago accepted their solitary existence. But before we continue with Maya and Minho's story, let me take a moment to wish you the most wonderful holiday season. Thank you for being here, for watching, for being part of this incredible community. Your support lights up my world more than you know, and I hope this season fills your heart with warmth, joy, and perhaps a little romance of your own. Please hit that subscribe button right now because I'm dropping new stories daily, and you definitely don't want to miss what happens next. Now let's get back to Maya and Minho, because trust me, things are about to get intense. The night that changed everything started with violence, as these things often do. Maya had left the conference hotel to clear her head. The keynote speaker had droned on for 2 hours about postmodern narrative structures, and her mind was spinning. The neighborhood around the hotel was upscale, safe. She had walked these streets several times already. But the sound that came from the narrow street between two buildings was unmistakable. The wet thud of fist meeting flesh. The groan of pain. She should have kept walking. She should have called the police. She should have done anything except turn down that dark alley. But Maya had never been good at should. She found him collapsed against a brick wall, blood streaming from a gash on his temple and another across his ribs. Even semi-conscious and injured, he was striking. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, the kind of masculine beauty that belonged in films. His eyes opened, finding hers through the darkness, and something passed between them. A recognition that neither could name. "Help," he managed in English, the word thick with pain and his native accent. "Please. You need an ambulance." She was already pulling out her phone. "No." His hand shot out with surprising speed, catching her wrist. "No hospitals. They'll kill me. Please. Just somewhere safe." Later, she would wonder what possessed her. What madness made her help a bleeding stranger into a taxi, give the driver her hotel address, have carry him through the lobby while the desk clerk stared. What insanity made her use her first aid training from college to clean his wounds, to bandage him with supplies from a nearby convenience store, to let him sleep on her hotel room couch while she sat in the chair by the window, watching him and wondering if she had completely lost her mind. His phone rang 3 times before she finally answered it, desperate for someone who might know how to help him. The voice that erupted through the speaker was sharp, commanding, terrified. "Where is he? Tell me where my brother is. Is he alive?" "He's alive." Maya kept her voice steady despite her racing heart. "He's hurt, but stable." "Who are you?" A pause, then more carefully. "I'm Kang Ji-hun." "Where are you?" 25 minutes later, her hotel room was full of men who moved like soldiers and looked like models. They swept through the space with practiced efficiency, barely acknowledging her as they assessed Minho's injuries. The brother, Ji-hun, was younger by perhaps a year or two, with the same aristocratic features and an intensity that made her uncomfortable. You saved his life. Ji-hun studied her with open curiosity. Do you understand what that means? It means he needed help and I could provide it. That's all. Something flickered across his face, approval mixed with calculation. My brother is the head of the Kang family. We oversee certain business operations in Seoul. The men who did this want to destroy us, want him dead. Now they'll want to know who interfered. The fear should have paralyzed her then. Instead, Maya straightened to her full 5 feet 7 inches. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you, Professor Torres. You've stepped into something dangerous. Ji-hun pulled a card from his pocket, extending it to her. When he wakes, he'll want to see you. I suggest you accept whatever he offers you. They took Minho that night, moving him with practiced care to a black SUV with tinted windows. Maya told herself it was finished, a strange interlude to share with colleagues over drinks someday. A reminder that the world contained multitudes beyond lecture halls and academic journals. But the flowers started arriving the next morning. Orchids, dozens of them, in shades of purple and white. Then came the gifts, a first edition of her favorite novel, Korean delicacies from the finest restaurants. Then the calls from a voice that had haunted her dreams. Have dinner with me. Minho's voice was stronger now, though she could still hear the echo of pain beneath it. Let me thank you properly. You've thanked me sufficiently. The flowers alone could fill a greenhouse. The way he said her name, drawing out the syllables with that accent, made her stomach flip. Please. One dinner. She should have declined. She was a professor with a life in Atlanta, with students depending on her return. He was a criminal, a man whose world was built on violence and power. They were from different continents, different cultures, different universes. He was 36, 7 years her junior, young enough that the age gap felt significant. She said yes anyway. The restaurant was exclusive, reserved entirely for them. Minho stood when she entered, and seeing him fully conscious, fully himself, stole her breath. He wore a charcoal suit that emphasized his broad shoulders and narrow waist. His dark hair was styled perfectly. But it was his eyes that captured her, intense and focused, tracking her movement across the room like she was the only thing in existence. You're more beautiful than I remembered, he said, pulling out her chair with old-fashioned courtesy. You were concussed and bleeding. Your memory is probably unreliable. A smile tugged at his mouth. My memory is perfect. I remember everything. How you told me it would be okay. How you refused to leave me alone even after your hands were covered in my blood. How you argued with Ji-hun like you weren't terrified. Anyone would have done the same. No. His hand covered hers on the white tablecloth. Most people in this city know who I am. They would have run. You didn't know me, but even after you learned the truth, you didn't run. His thumb traced slow circles on her palm. Why? Because running seemed cruel. And now? Why are you here now? She didn't have an answer she was willing to speak aloud. Because something in you mirrors something in me. Because I haven't felt this alive in decades. Because when you look at me like that, I forget every reason I've built walls around my heart. This food smells incredible, she deflected. He laughed, a rich sound that transformed his severe features. You're going to make this difficult. Good. Nothing in my life has been difficult in years. Dinner stretched into hours of conversation. She told him about teaching, about her students who struggled with Faulkner, about growing up in Atlanta with a mother who cleaned houses and a grandmother who raised her on gospel music and sweet tea. He told her about the weight of legacy, about inheriting his father's empire at 25, about the loneliness of leadership where everyone wanted something from him, where no one saw beyond the title to the man beneath. About his mother who had taught him to value honor, and his younger brother who he would die to protect. Ji-hun thinks I've lost my mind, Minho admitted. Pursuing an American professor I barely know. Maybe he's right. Maybe. He leaned closer, and she caught the scent of his cologne, cedar and something darker. But I've always trusted my instincts. They've kept me alive when others wanted me dead. And every instinct I have is screaming that you're important. That letting you return to America without exploring this would be the greatest mistake of my life. I'm leaving in 9 days. Then give me 9 days. Now listen, if you're enjoying Maya and Miho's story, I need you to show me some love. Hit that like button right now. Drop a comment and tell me what you think is going to happen. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Click that subscribe button and turn on notifications because these stories drop every single day and you don't want to miss what comes next. Trust me, it's about to get wild. 9 days became a revelation. Miho showed her soul through his eyes, the hidden places tourists never found. A bookshop in an alley where the owner knew his mother. A temple in the mountains where he went when the weight of his world became too heavy. A jazz club where they danced until 2 in the morning, her curves pressed against his solid frame, his hands steady and sure on her waist. He kissed her on the 6th night. They were at his penthouse, standing on the terrace with the city spread below them like a blanket of lights. He had been watching her all evening with that intensity that made her feel exposed and cherished simultaneously. "You're staring again," she said. "I can't help it. You're the most stunning woman I've ever seen." She laughed, uncomfortable with compliments she had never learned to accept. "Flattery doesn't work on me." "It's not flattery." He moved closer, his hands framing her face with surprising gentleness. "Maya, my entire life, people want my power. My money. My influence. Do you understand how rare it is to meet someone who wanted nothing? Who helped me simply because I needed help? I'm just a professor from Atlanta. You're extraordinary." He brushed his thumb across her cheekbone. "And I'm going to kiss you now unless you tell me not to." She didn't tell him not to. The kiss was fire and restraint, hunger carefully controlled. His lips moved against hers like he was memorizing her, savoring her. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, kneading him closer. When they finally separated, both breathing hard, she saw her own shock reflected in his eyes. "Maya," he whispered. "This is insane." "I don't care. I'm leaving in 4 days." "Then don't leave." She stared at him. "Miho, be realistic." "I've never been more realistic." He pressed his forehead to hers. "Stay. Give us a real chance. I'll help you handle things in Atlanta. But then come back to me. Let me prove this is real. We barely know each other. I know enough." He kissed her again, softer. "I know you bite your lip when you're thinking. I know you drink your coffee black with too much sugar. I know you check your phone constantly because you worry about your students. I know you cry at commercials, but try to hide it. I know that when you laugh, truly laugh, it's the most beautiful sound I've ever heard." He cupped her face. "I know that for the first time in my life, I'm terrified. Because you could destroy me, and you don't even realize your power." She should have been rational. Everything about this was impossible. The age difference, the cultural chasm, his world of danger, her world of books and theories. They were incompatible by every measure. But when he looked at her like that, when he held her like she was precious, she couldn't remember why she had spent 20 years protecting her heart. 3 months, she heard herself say. "I'll arrange things at the university. I'll come back for 3 months. But Miho, I need you to understand something. Anything. I'm too old for casual. Too old to share you. If we're doing this, I need complete honesty. What are we doing?" His answer was another kiss, deeper, possessive. "You're mine," he growled against her mouth. "Only mine. And I'm yours. Whatever obstacles we face them together. Agreed?" She returned to Atlanta wearing his ring. Not an engagement ring, not yet. A promise ring, a band of black stones that reflected the darkness of his world but sparkled with hidden light. His people would watch over her while she was gone. His resources would be hers. His love would fill the emptiness she had accepted as permanent. Her best friend Keisha thought she had lost her mind. "Maya, you met this man 4 weeks ago. He's in the Mafia. He's more than that. He's dangerous. I know. And you're just going to append your entire life for him? I'm not appending anything. Maya looked at her friend, the woman who had supported her through every heartbreak and triumph. I'm finally reaching for something. Maybe for the first time ever. Don't you always tell me I deserve more than loneliness? Keisha's resistance softened. I just don't want you hurt. Maybe I will be. But at least I'll have tried. At least I'll know what it feels like to be wanted like this. She returned to Seoul 8 weeks later. Minho was waiting at the airport, surrounded by security, but seeing only her. He caught her in his arms, lifted her effortlessly despite her curves, spinning her like she weighed nothing. Never again, he said against her hair. Never leave me that long again. Needy, she teased, though tears were streaming down her face. Absolutely. Completely. Unapologetically. The first 6 weeks were paradise. She learned his world, met his mother who was suspicious initially but melted when Maya shared stories about teaching and showed genuine interest in Korean literature. She met the men who worked for him, saw the respect and fear in equal measure. She understood that he was not good by conventional definitions. The Kang family controlled gambling, protection, businesses that existed in legal gray areas. But with her, he was tender, protective. He held her at night like she might disappear. He learned to make her grandmother's cornbread recipe. He told her she was beautiful until she almost believed him. Then the shadows crept in. Her name was Yuna. Tall, elegant, beautiful in the way of Korean actresses. She had history with Minho, years of it, and she made certain Maya knew. He'll tire of you, Yuna said, cornering her at a family gathering. You're exotic, different. But novelty fades. He'll remember eventually that he needs a proper Korean wife. Not some foreign woman who doesn't belong. Maya had dealt with racism before, subtle and overt. She met Yuna's cold gaze without flinching. If he wanted you, he would have married you already. He was planning to. Before you distracted him. Then I guess his priorities changed. Yuna's smile was poisonous. We'll see how long you last when reality sets in. The doubt was insidious. Maya fought it, but it grew in the quiet hours when Minho was handling business he couldn't discuss, when she sat alone in a penthouse that still felt foreign, when she looked in the mirror and saw a 43-year-old woman who didn't speak the language, who didn't fit the culture, who couldn't give him the children or the image a man in his position needed. You've been quiet, Minho said one evening, finding her on the terrace. Just thinking. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, chin on her shoulder. Tell me, do you ever regret choosing me? What? She turned to face him. Minho, I'm older. I'm not Korean. I don't fit your world. Your mother has accepted me, but your associates look at me like I'm an oddity. Yuna told me today. His expression darkened dangerously. What did Yuna tell you? That you were planning to marry her. That I'm temporary. I'm going to kill her. Minho. I'm serious. She has tormented every woman in my life because she can't accept that I don't want her. We dated briefly when I was 26, Maya. 26. It meant nothing. She meant nothing. He gripped her shoulders. You are not temporary. You are not a phase. You are everything I never knew I needed. But the age. I'm too old for fairy tales, she had said to him last week. She remembered. He had asked her to stay permanently, and the words had slipped out, defensive and afraid. Maya. He pressed his lips to her forehead. I have waited my entire life for you. Not for a Korean woman. Not for a young woman. Not for someone who fits expectations. For you. Your intelligence. Your strength. Your compassion. Your curves that drive me insane. Your laugh. Your stubbornness. Your terrible attempts at speaking Korean. Everything. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I don't care if you're 43 or 63. I don't care if we never have children or adopt 10. I don't care what Yuna says or what anyone thinks. They work for me. Their opinions are meaningless. He wiped her tears gently. I need to know something. Do you love me? Not do we make sense. Not can this work. Do you love me? Yes. The word tore from her chest. God, yes. Then marry me. Stay forever. Before she could answer, the world shattered. Glass exploded inward. Gunfire erupted like thunder. Minho threw her down, covering her body with his own. She heard shouting in Korean, the pound of footsteps, the crack of weapons. His men flooded the terrace, returning fire at enemies she couldn't see through the chaos. Stay down, Minho commanded, and then he was moving toward the gunfire with a weapon that had appeared from nowhere. The attack lasted maybe 5 minutes that felt like hours. When silence finally fell, Maya uncurled from behind a concrete planter, shaking violently. Minho was there instantly, blood on his shirt, but not his own. Are you hurt? No. What happened? Cho Sang-woo. His voice was ice. My second in command. He's been working with the Park family for months. They want my territory. Want me dead. We need to leave. Get you somewhere safe. Nowhere is safe until I end this. He gripped her arms, and she saw the war in his eyes. The boss who needed vengeance and the man who needed her protected. Jaehoon will take you to the safe house. I'm not leaving you. Maya. No. She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. You just proposed. You don't get to send me away now. Together. That's what you said. For a moment he looked like he might argue. Then something in his expression softened, and he pulled her into a crushing embrace. Together, he agreed. But you follow my orders. You stay behind me. And if I tell you to run. If you tell me to run, you'd better be running beside me. Despite everything, he laughed. Stubborn woman. You're stubborn woman. The next 48 hours were the longest of her life. They moved through Seoul like ghosts, safe house to safe house, Minho's loyal men forming a protective circle while he orchestrated his counterattack. Maya saw the other side of him fully, the cold strategist, the ruthless commander, the man who had killed and would kill again to protect what was his. It should have terrified her. Maybe later it would. But in those desperate hours, all she felt was awe. He was fighting for survival, for family, for his empire. And he was fighting for her. Cho Sang-woo had been with the Kang family for 16 years. He had mentored Minho after their father's death. The betrayal cut deeper than any blade. Why? Minho asked when they finally cornered the traitor. Cho sneered from where he was bound in an abandoned warehouse. Because you're weak. Distracted by that foreign woman. The Kang family needs leadership that puts blood before lust. Minho's expression didn't change. You think loving her makes me weak. I think it makes you blind. You're wrong. Minho stepped closer, and the temperature seemed to drop. It makes me lethal. Because now I have something worth protecting. Something worth burning this entire city for. He leaned down, meeting Cho's eyes. And you threatened her. That was your last mistake. Maya didn't watch what happened next. She didn't need to. The sounds were enough. When Minho emerged, his knuckles were bloody, but his eyes were clear. He came to her immediately, searching her face for judgment. I told you what I was, he said quietly. I never hid it. I know. Do you hate me? She considered it honestly. He had killed a man, ordered other deaths. He was a criminal by every legal and moral standard. But he was also the man who kissed her awake every morning, who learned to make her grandmother's cornbread, who told her she was beautiful until she started believing it, who would fight the world to keep her safe. I don't hate you, she said. I don't think I could. Relief flooded his face. He dropped to his knees before her, arms around her waist, face pressed to her stomach. I don't deserve you. Probably not. She threaded her fingers through his hair. But you have me anyway. The Park family surrendered within a week. Without Cho's insider information, their assault collapsed. Minho showed mercy to those who begged, ruthlessness to those who didn't. When the dust settled, his power was unquestioned, his enemies destroyed or converted. And Maya was beside him through all of it. His mother gave her a family heirloom the day the last threat was neutralized, a necklace that had belonged to Miho's grandmother, passed through generations. "You earned this," the older woman said, tears in her eyes. "You stayed. You fought. You're Kang now." The wedding was 3 months later. Maya wore a gown of cream and gold that celebrated her curves rather than hiding them. Miho waited at the altar, and when he saw her, he wept openly. Strong, dangerous, ruthless Kang Minho, reduced to tears by his bride. "I told you," he whispered as she reached him. "I've been waiting my whole life. And I told you I was too old for fairy tales. Good thing you proved yourself wrong." The ceremony blended Korean tradition with touches from Atlanta. Keisha served as maid of honor, still somewhat incredulous but entirely supportive. Jaehoon was best man, his earlier skepticism transformed into genuine affection. The bookshop owner catered with traditional Korean delicacies, and the jazz band from their first dance played into the night. When they finally escaped to their suite, Minho pressed her against the door and kissed her until the world disappeared. "Mrs. Kang," he murmured against her lips. "That's going to take adjustment. We have forever." His hands found the zipper of her dress. "Starting now." The dress fell. His breath caught. "Every single time," he said reverently. "Every time you steal my breath." She pulled him toward the bed. The world could wait. 1 year later, Maya stood in her Seoul office at the university where she now taught. Her course on African American literature had waiting lists. Her life was full in ways she had never imagined. Minho appeared in the doorway as he did every afternoon, never tiring of watching her work. "Ready for the appointment?" She touched her stomach, the slight swell that had appeared recently. "Ready." At 44, she had assumed motherhood had passed her by. The universe had other plans. The ultrasound that morning had confirmed what they had barely dared to hope. A miracle. Their miracle. "I love you," she said as they walked to the car, surrounded by guards who had become family. "You know that?" "I know." He kissed her temple. "But I'll never tire of hearing it." "Good, because you're stuck with me forever." "Forever," he agreed. And if you've made it to the end of Maya and Minho's story, thank you so much. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a like to show me you enjoyed this, and leave a comment telling me your thoughts. Want more stories like this? Let me know. I read every single comment, and your support means everything. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember that love can find you at any moment, at any age, when you least expect it. Happy holidays, and I'll see you in the next video.